Ya Ali, Ya Ali, 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 Ya Ali.
Amma ba'd, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shahadat, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam arwahun al-fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. The one that has given us the opportunity and has given us life long enough to sit in the remembrance of Aba Abdullah, to sit in the remembrance of Ahlul Bayt, that household whose very aim, whose very role was to take man towards their ultimate aim, that ultimate aim being the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because as he says in Hadith Qudsi, كنت كنزا مخفيا فأحببت أن أعرف فخلقت الخلق لكي أعرف. He says that I was a hidden treasure and I desired to be known, so I initiated creation so that they may come to know me. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that my ma'rifah is the very purpose for your existence, meaning that Allah did not require us, but out of His infinite mercy He created man so that man could reach the heights of perfection, could reach those stations where he was destined to reach. And how unfortunate is that individual that his life started in the back of Adam with the malaika doing sajda to him, and he leaves this world in such a state that he is like an animal. No, the Quran goes further, balhum azal, he is worse than the animals. What happens to that man that upon his birth, when you see young children smiling, Amirul Mu'mineen says that the malaika are coming and they are playing with that child who was babysat by the malaika. Now when he leaves this world, his ruh, as the narration says, it ascends, it tries to ascend towards the arsh, and at each level, by the first level, when they say no, he did ghiba, they send his soul down. At the second level they say no, he had ujb, he had pride, send him down. And as these various levels, as he gets higher and higher, and the various diseases of his soul manifest, he is thrown back down into the depth of hell. What happened to that individual? That he was the purpose of sajda of the malaika. Now he is the place where the malaika are cursing him. The only way to gain the ma'rifah of Allah is through Ahlul Bayt. They teach us the ways, the tariqah of ascension. They show us the path of ascension. They show us how we can gain the knowledge of Allah. What is the true knowledge of Allah? And there is no other path, there is no other system in place that allows us to be able to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as is His right to be understood. And one of the ways that an individual can ascend quickly on this journey is when he refines, or when she refines their akhlaq. Akhlaq is that thing that in our society of black and white fiqh we place aside. Akhlaq, our ethics, our morals are those things that are given the least priority when we take forward the risala amaliya of our marja taqleed. We say the marja says this, so it must mean that this is the only way. No, there is another way. That is the way of akhlaq, the way of irfan. It means that the maraji give you the base level. You follow the fiqh, you follow the risala amaliyah, you will enter into Jannah. But you follow the path of akhlaq and love, you will ascend the levels until you reach the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the narrations say to us, or the risala amaliyah Sharia will say something like, if there are men and women in a gathering and everyone is observing hijab, the men are observing the hijab of the eyes, the women are the men are also observing physical hijab, and the women are also observing physical hijab. There is no Shari'i problem here. However, akhlaq tells us no. There is the possibility for haram to occur, so I will avoid that gathering altogether. This is the difference between fiqh and akhlaq. Akhlaq is that thing where the maraji' say to you that crying is a mustahab action, tawalla is wajib. Coming off tawalla is crying. For Abi Abdullah, it is mustahab as an action. But akhlaq shows you the ahadith that say that crying, shedding one tear for Hussein. Recite salawat, please. The riwayat say to us that shedding one tear for Abu Abdullah yuhattu dhunub al-idam, it will consume every single one of your sins. Then when you introduce the intellect into the equation, just shedding a tear out of pure emotion for Imam al-Hussein, just shedding one tear consumes every single one of your sins. But look what happens when the aql is introduced. When we introduce the aql into our actions, now the narration says something different. It says, "Man baka ala al-Husayn arifan bihaqqihi wajibat lahu al-jannah." Now when you understand arifan bihaqqihi, you understand why Imam al-Husayn went to Karbala. You understand the aims and you understand the objectives of Imam al-Husayn. You follow where Imam al-Husayn wanted you to go. You stay away from those places that Imam al-Husayn wanted you to stay away from. Then you cry for Imam al-Husayn, wajibat lahul jannah. Then Jannah becomes wajib upon you. Forget having all your sins forgiven. Your ultimate aim being Jannah is given to you. But not even that. Go one step further. See, the station of Abu Abdullah is something unique. There is no normal reason that so many individuals that you do not see all year round are pulled to the masjid within the 10 days of Muharram. It's because there is a certain pull that Abi Abdullah, there is a certain status that Abi Abdullah possesses, that he pulls even those sinners that stay away all year round, but they are compelled at the very least on the day of Ashura to come and mourn for Abi Abdullah. Awan Ja'far Shushtari in Khasa'is al-Husayniyah brings a number of peculiarities of Abu Abdullah, what sets him aside from all the other A'imma. And in there he brings one hadith. He says, Inna al-Husayn babun min abwab al-Jannah. He says that Husayn is a door from amongst the doors of Jannah. That's those that were his azadar, those that understood what he stood for, those that followed in his path. They will enter through Bab al-Husayn. They will enter through the door of Abu Abdullah. One way to enter that door is to enter the realms of akhlaq. Those things that we consider to be insignificant. We think, how is it possible that something like stretching my legs out while sitting in the company of others is bad akhlaq? How could it lower my spirituality? But in reality it does. You look at the life of the 8th Imam. His companions say that we saw the 8th Imam, he had certain habits. One of those habits was he would never stretch out his legs when he sat in the company of others. He would never lean against a wall when he saw that those around him had no wall to lean against. He would not eat until all his servants and workers in the house had been sat with him at the table and they were eating, then he would eat. He would never speak until the person speaking to him had finished speaking. These are the minutiae of our development. These are those things that we think, oh, maybe they're not so important. I just need to do this tasbih and this salatul layl and this ta'weez, and I need to do this and I need to do this chilla and that, and then I'll reach all these magical irfani powers. No. Akhlaq in those things that differentiate us. And the best example of akhlaq manifesting within individuals is in Karbala. And then if you want the prime example from amongst all of those individuals, then look at the personality of Ali Akbar. It is not that because he is the son of the Imam, that the Imam is crying at his body, ala dunya ba'daka al-afa, that there is no pleasure left in this world after you. Look what the Imam is saying when Ali Akbar is going out. He says, oh Allah, bear witness that these individuals are fighting against that person that is ashbahun nas, that is most like the Prophet, khalqan, in the way that he looks, khuluqan, in his akhlaq, wa mantiqan, and in the way that he thinks. It is the akhlaq of Ali Akbar that gives him certain stations and certain peculiarities within the event of Karbala itself. First and foremost, this dua of the Imam, where he's saying, oh Allah, bear witness, it is the akhlaq of Ali Akbar that is like the Holy Prophet. This is one thing. Then the return of Ali Akbar back to his father following the dua of his mother. See, because according to some narrations, Hazrat Layla is inside the tent, Abi Abdullah is watching the battle of Ali Akbar. And you would have heard it in the majalis. It's not, I just want to explain an aspect from this. That when he goes against Bakr ibn al-Ghanim, the Imam's face changes. The mother of Ali Akbar, seeing this, says to the Imam, what's happening? And the Imam says, look, do dua. Allah never turns away the dua of a mother. She raises her hand, she goes in, Ilahi بغربة أبي عبد بغربة أبي عبد الله بعطش أبي عبد الله يا راد يوسف إلى يعقوب يا راد موسى إلى أمه أردد إلي ولدي علي. Oh, the one that returned Yusuf back to Yaqub. Oh, the one that returned Musa back to his mother, return my son Ali back to me. He returns back. Now here, when he asks about Abdullah for water, Imam al-Hussein tells him to do sabr. Now he goes back out to fight. When Ali Akbar falls, there is something that he says that no one else in the plains of Karbala said, or in the Maqatil you find. It is that he has a mukashifa, he has a vision of Rasulullah himself. All the others were shaheed. But yet it is Ali Akbar that when he falls from the horse, he cries out, Hada Jaddi Rasulillah. Here is my grandfather Rasulullah. He is holding for me water from the pool of Kawthar, and he is sending salams on you, and he is saying that you will join us shortly. Do you see that spiritual level that Hazrat Ali Akbar has reached? Not because he is the son of the Imam. Being the son or the grandson or the descendant of the Imam is not a sure way to reach guidance. No, because you look at someone like Ibrahim ibn Musa, the son of Imam al-Kadhim, the brother of Imam Rada. He's the one that instigates the people against Imam Rada. He says that, no, my brother is not the Imam. So being the son of an Imam does not necessarily mean that you are on haqq. So there is something else here. And the factor that stands out is the akhlaq of Ali Akbar. You look at every single individual in Karbala. Look at Sa'id ibn Abdullah. Sa'id ibn Abdullah, he stands in front of the Imam. He takes arrows to his body while his Imam is praying salah behind him. When he falls, the Imam takes his head. He says, Sa'id, is there anything that I can do for you? He looks towards the Imam. He says, Imam, answer one question for me. The Imam says what? He says, Awafaytu. Have I fulfilled my oath of loyalty to you? This is akhlaq. There is no fiqh here. These are individuals that are drowned in the love of their Imam, but they have understood their Imam not through emotion, but through the intellect. They have understood Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the intellect, not through raw emotion. They have understood what their purpose is. The 13-year-old is coming to his uncle on the day of Ashura. لَمْ يَزَلْ يُقَبِّلَ الرِّجْلَيْهِ وَيَدَيْهِ. He is constantly coming. Please recite salawat. He's constantly coming to his uncle on the day of Ashura, kissing his hands, kissing his feet, asking for permission to go out and fight. This is not because he is the son of a ma'soom. It is because they have gained ma'rifah of their Imam. They have seen their Imam through the eyes of akhlaq. That thing that we leave aside. And so the Imam that we remember today, and there are many other examples and we could carry on, but the purpose for today's lecture is to remember the fourth Imam. And taking this idea of akhlaq forward, I want to look at Dua Makarimul Akhlaq. Dua Makarimul Akhlaq is that dua within Sahifa Sajjadiyya. Sahifa Sajjadiyya is, again, the unfortunate situation with the followers of Ahlul Bayt, that we claim to love the Ahlul Bayt, but yet we are the ones that know least about them, bar what we hear from the minbar. We don't realize that Sahifa Sajjadiyya has answers to all of our problems. It has a dua for every single problem or every single issue that I may face within my life, but still I go and knock at the doors of non-ma'soomeen. When I have the dua there in front of me, direct from a ma'soom, that the Imam is there, he is giving us the way to worship Allah, the way to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I choose to still go and knock at the door of a non-ma'soom and say, write a ta'weez for me, write this for me, blow this on this water for me so I can drink it, and at the same time parting with lots of money. But yet Ahlul Bayt have given us everything. We have everything that we need. But yet what do we choose to do? We go to someone else's door. However, Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, the Imam begins to list certain traits, certain moral and ethical traits, that an individual, if you wanted to understand what I am saying to you about akhlaq, or what exactly is it, you want a list of those things that you want to implement within your life. You want to remove certain aspects from your life, and you're worried, what aspects do I need to remove? Refer to Dua Makarimul Akhlaq. Within Dua Makarimul Akhlaq, you will find the Imam list one thing after another. He says certain powerful words, certain powerful sentences that makes an individual think that, do I really want to say this? Because when the nafs is out of control and the intellect is not tempering the nafs, what happens is we get afraid saying certain things. For example, the Imam says, "Ammirni ma kana bidlatan fi ta'atik." My Lord, give me life as long as it is in your obedience. However, the moment it turns towards the obedience of shaitan, take it away from me. Praying for our death. Now, most of us wouldn't be able to do this, because we're aware of what we're carrying with us, what we're taking with us, what we're going into that grave with. But here the Imam is giving us a vital lesson, that if we truly claim to be the lovers of Ahlul Bayt and the lovers of Allah, then for us, not even a moment should be in the footsteps of shaitan. And we should fear not death, but even that 1 or 2 seconds where we are away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, the Imam lists 22 characteristics of the muttaqeen. I want to look at some of them. Don't worry, we won't go through all 22 today. I don't have that much time. The Imam starts off the section, and those of you that have access to du'as.org, the dua is on there with an English translation that you can access on there, and it starts from line 62. In line 62, the Imam says, Albisni zinat al-muttaqeen, my Lord, clothe me with the clothing, the beautification of the muttaqeen, those that are the God conscious, not the God-fearing. This is often mistranslated, that we create the fear of God within each other, whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, I am more loving than 100 mothers. But what we do is we raise our children and we say, do this, haram, 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 hell, 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 fire, fire, fire. As opposed to saying, Allah is saying, that's come to me. Come back to me. I'll forgive every single one of your sins. There's not a single sin I won't forgive. Just come back to me. You want the dunya, I'll give you the dunya, but just come back to me. You chase the dunya, I won't give you the dunya or the akhirah. You want the people to respect you, then come to me. You chase the respect of the people, no one will respect you. He's saying, come to me, and I will give you everything. Everything is in my control, O son of Adam. Hadith Qudsi says, everything is. So I'm shocked at that individual in the Hadith of Mi'raj. He says, I'm shocked at that individual who has his rizq for today, yet he's worried about tomorrow. I've been providing it for him until this far. Even today he has had his rizq. He's had something to eat. He's had something to cover his head. He's had somewhere to sleep. He's had health. He's had all of this, but yet he's worried about tomorrow. How am I going to do this? What are my children going to do? What am I? He says, I'm shocked at that individual. Turning back to Allah, being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not fearful of Allah. The fear of Allah comes when an individual realizes the majesty of Allah and his own insignificance. At that point, that fear, at that point, that awe comes in. At this point, we fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That what is it that He has given us? And the only way to fall in love with Allah is when we peel away these various diseases that wrap around our soul. And I want to look at some of them. That the Imam, he speaks about those individuals that are the muttaqeen. Because we always hear about it, this person is a muttaqi, this person is a muttaqi, this person has taqwa, this person is conscious of Allah. But what does it actually mean? Here the Imam lists 22 traits that each and every one of us can take within our lives. And we'll go through as many as we can today. But when we go back, we can look at the dua, and one by one of those 22 traits, look at how many of them I possess, how many of them I need to work towards. Easy checklist that I can do if I have the time. And this being the most expensive commodity that we own. It's not gold, it's not silver, it's none of this oil or coal or anything. You ask anyone nowadays. And the one thing that no one has is time. It's the most expensive commodity. And the more we complain about not having time, the less barakah we have in our time. Amir al-Mu'mineen narration says the one that complains more about not having enough time to do this. Oh, I can't come to the Masjid, Maulana, I'm busy. I can't come to Salat al-Jama'at because I just don't have the time from work. I can't do this. I want to come to the Masjid, I just don't have time. I wanted to reach on time, but I didn't have the time to reach on time. And the more I complain about time, the less barakah in my time, the more it escapes from me. And then before I know it, I'm looking back and my friends are dying around me. I'm thinking, where did time go? 1 year ago, he was perfectly fine. And today I'm sat here burying him. The more I complain about it, the more I don't utilize it, the quicker it leaves me. In our youth, we have the barakah of time. If we don't utilize it, it will leave us. And as we get older, we will begin to regret all the time that we wasted. The day can be split. I haven't got time to discuss this, but inshallah at another point we can look at it, because I don't want to look at it today. But it's not to say that you can't play your PS4 and your Xbox One. Now, one, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not that out of touch. It's not to say that you can't play football, play your PS4, Xbox One, or do whatever you need to do to relax. There's no problem there. It's what you do with the rest of your time as well. See, that is a proportion time that an individual has. But the problem arises when you see individuals that spend the whole night playing, I don't know, Black Ops or something. And they say, oh, I spent the whole night and I clocked the game in one night. But yet that same individual, you bring them on Laylatul Qadr and they're already one dua in and they're ready to fall asleep. Why is it? We have to ask ourselves. It's because the nafs has been inclined towards ease. We've inclined ourselves towards anything that is other than the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, the Imam says, Albisni zinat al-muttaqin. Oh my Lord, cover me, clothe me in the clothing of the muttaqin, of those that are God conscious. And who are they? He says, through spreading justice. The first thing that the Imam says they establish justice. They spread justice. Now justice is not just what we see that Israel is doing to Palestine, that is injustice and we've got to go out and protest. No, there is injustice within ourselves as well. ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي. So we're saying Dua Kumail. I've done dhulm on myself. I've oppressed myself. I've been unjust to myself. Through what? Through my sins. So before I can establish justice outside, and I can protest and I can cry and I can write letters, first try and establish justice inside. When you establish justice within yourselves, when you establish these akhlaqi traits within yourselves, you will automatically influence those around you. If you want to see a change within your society for the more positive, then make yourself that change. It is not a cliche that they say that you become the change that you want to see. It is what Islam tells us. Come to the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. First save yourself, then your family from the fire of hell. Be the change that you want to see. Save yourself. Imam says the muttaqeen, they establish that justice, they spread that justice. وَكَظْمِ الْغَيْظِ, and they swallow their anger. They swallow that rage. You know, sometimes, especially at these times of emotion and passion in these majalis, when things get really heated up, we become very emotional. Someone looked at me in the wrong way. Someone pushed me in matam in the wrong way. Someone didn't give me niyaz in the way that I thought they should have given it to me. And so we begin to get more and more angry. But yet the Imam is saying the muttaqeen are those, they swallow their anger. It's not a thing for them. And you find it in the life of the fourth Imam. Whereas the slave girl of the fourth Imam is pouring him some water. The jug slips and it strikes the head of the Imam. The Imam looks at her, she looks at him, she says, وَكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. She recites from the Holy Quran. She says, وَكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, and they are those that swallow their anger. The Imam says, I've swallowed my anger. وَعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, she says, and they forgive the people. Imam says, I've forgiven you. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. She finishes the ayah and says, surely Allah loves those that do ihsan, that do good. Imam says, I have freed you in the way of Allah. See, there's many lessons. Number one, the Imam staying calm. Number two, this is what a slave of Ahlul Bayt is like. That they understand Quran. Not that we have no idea of the Quran. All I know is ayat tathir and ayat wilaya, and that's it. This is not the whole Quran. There is more to the Holy Quran. There's more in it. Sometimes, we say, oh yeah, but, can we have something new to read? People often say, what's something, okay, Quran. I said, no, but we've read that. Okay, read it with translation. Yeah, read it with translation as well. Okay, something new. Quran. So no, and there was one alim who was approached and someone said to him, look, can we have something new to read? What would you recommend? And he said, Quran. Yes, I know, we've read that, but, heard about that for however many years, 29 years of my life, What about something new? It says Quran. He says again, no, but this, something new. He says, okay, you know what, can you get me a glass of water? So the individual goes and he brings the alim a glass of water. And he says to him, was this all the water that was there within the tap? He says, no. He says, so why did you only bring me this much water? He says, this is all the cup was able to take. It's exactly the same with the Quran. You expand your vessel, expand your ability to understand, and the Quran will become newer for you. The Quran will become a deeper book for you. You will analyze it from different angles. But if you do not want to expand yourself, improve yourself, bring yourself closer towards Allah, then the Quran will remain that Quran that is on the shelf that you only take down in Shahr Ramadan. The slaves of Ahlul Bayt, they are those that have a connection with the Holy Quran. How is it possible that a Shia of Ali Muhammad cannot recite the Holy Quran? How is it possible a youth of Ali Muhammad, when he grew up, when he was a young child, could recite the Quran? Now he's ashamed to recite Quran because he hasn't read it for 5 or 6 years. It's impossible. And then we say, oh yes, the Imam's going to be waiting for us and we're going to hold the Imam and the Imam's going to love us. Can't even read the Quran. How bad is it that I've forgotten how to read the Holy Quran? That I can't recite it with the fluency that I used to be able to? What sort of Shia am I? What sort of youth of the Imam am I? That I can memorize every single squad that's going to go out and play in whatever football match they may be playing. And I know the transfer rates and the amount of money this player was costing. But yet I don't even know how to recite Quran. And then if I know how to recite Quran, I don't know how to recite Quran properly. I can't say my ayn and I can't say my sad and I can't say my dad. Impossible. How is it going to be the case that I claim to be the Shia of the Imam, but yet do the total opposite to what the servants of the previous Imams did? They were drowned in the love of the Quran. They were drowned in the love of Allah. She says, they are those that consume their anger, وَإِطْفَاءٍ نَائِرَةٍ, and they extinguish the flame of hatred. They don't hold hate within their hearts. The muttaqeen are those, they don't hate anyone. See, See, there is a difference between la'an and hate. There's a fundamental difference. La'an is a dua asking for Allah, asking Allah to remove His mercy from an individual. Hatred is aimed at the physical entity that was created by Allah. And Allah does not create anything in imperfection. Man drives himself towards imperfection. But everything is created in perfection. They extinguish the hate. Hatred towards our own fellow Shias, how is it possible? But you see how the munafiqeen have gathered amongst us. Not here, obviously, I'm speaking metaphorically before anyone, YouTubes and says, call us all munafiqs. I did not call anyone a munafiq here, please. But I'm saying that outside, in the wider Shia world, the munafiqeen have entered within us. And they have decided to cause disunity. And we, those individuals that claim to be the true lovers of Ahlul Bayt, we get drawn into these discussions of hatred and cursing this individual and cursing that individual. And this marja said this and this marja said that. And this marja... It's interesting, you see this video of Ayatollah Hafiz Bashir Najafi, Hafizallah, that it's going around, and people are showing it, and Allah has said that in regards to his opinion of tatbir and things like this. That aside, what I want to look at is the individuals promoting this. You see, there are certain individuals that have forwarded me this video, but yet they were the same individuals 3 months ago that were cursing Agha, saying that he did not allow Shahadat thalitha in tashahhud.
Yeah, Aksan.
You see? Do you see the hypocrisy here? You see how these individuals have been planted within us. That now when it suits them, taqleed is jaiz. But yet 3 months ago the same individual was a muqassir and this and that. What is happening to our nation? That our intellects have been robbed from us, and we do not realize, and we are raising children in a society that tells you to think and ponder in the ways that we were raised in the villages back home. As youth, we need to open our minds and think logically, not emotionally. Someone sends a video around, that doesn't change anything. First you question the individual who's sending me this. Think back, why have we got such short-term memories? That there are individuals, there are communities that gather together for the sole purpose of undermining the ulama and the maraji within this region. And we go and we say, oh, it's okay, we're only going to listen to the Faza'il of Mawla. Let me tell you something, Yazid also recited the Fada'il of Mawla, so did Muawiyah. So this isn't something new. If someone is going against Tawheed, and someone is attacking the foundations of Tawheed, that individual, regardless of what he is saying, where he is saying it, his shirk. Just because he's reciting, his aqidah is something different. There's time for fear is gone. This is a black and white. I remember coming to this and not this and to your old Moore Street about almost 10 years ago, and I said there is a start of an ideological war that is starting, and we need to be aware. And now the ground is very black and white. You see those that are attributing uluhiyya, are attributing rububiyyah to the imams. This is on the rise, this is common. Oh, this Imam is Raziq, this Imam is Rabb. What are we talking about? You see, from when we're connected with the Holy Quran, we'll find the ayah of the Holy Quran, be like, yes, but you're saying this Imam is Rabb, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran is saying that do you find any other Rabb in this world but me? Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, do you find any other Raziq in the heavens and the earth but me? If we're connected with the Holy Quran, we'd be able to weed out these individuals. We need to be aware. The enemies are working twice as hard within our communities. We can't. Allah. We can't brush it under the carpet any longer. This is the reality. Karbala came to teach us Tawheed. It came to teach us Tawheed. That Imam al-Hussein going out into the plains of Karbala after having given everyone إلهي تركت الخلق طرا في هواك وأيتمت الأيال لكي أراك وإن قطعتني بالهب إربا لمال الفؤاد إلى السواك. So my Lord, I've left the whole of creation for your sake. I've orphaned my children so that I may see you. And even if the swords were to come and cut me to pieces, my heart, it would turn to none but you. Karbala is Tawheed. If anyone is attacking Tawheed, they are not an individual that is following the Karbala, the true Karbala of Imam Hussein. Karbala is about Allah. It is about falling in love with Allah. That you see individuals willing to give their lives for their Imam. Yes, there was sorrow in Karbala. But amongst that sorrow, when she is asked by Ibn Ziyad, how did you perceive the death of your brother? She said, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I saw nothing but beauty. Because I saw every single individual drowned in the love of Allah. This is that beauty that Zainab saw. But yes, along with the beauty there was sorrow. Such sorrow that Imam Sajjad cried for 35 years of his life, saying one word, Asham, Asham, Asham. They came to the Imam at a number of occasions, because the Imam would cry every time they'd bring water, and he'd see what he'd cry. He'd say, they killed my father while he was thirsty. When they saw an animal being slaughtered, he'd say, they killed my father in the way that they slaughtered the sheep. He cried and he cried for 35 years. But there was one place that made Imam al-Sajjad cry more than everywhere, and that was Sham. When someone came and asked the Imam, that Imam, why is it? What happened in Sham that makes you cry so much? The Imam said that there are 7 things that happened to us in Sham that did not happen to us anywhere. He says the first thing that happened to us in Sham is that when we entered into Sham, they took the heads of the Shahadat and they placed them in front of those women that were related to them. They placed the head of Qasim in front of Farwa. They placed the head of Imam al-Hussein in front of Hazrat Zainab. They made each and every one of these women look towards the head. When they would at times strike these heads together, the heads would fall and they would be crushed under the feet of the camels. The second reason is why I cry Sham. The Imam says to Nu'man, he says that the second reason is that when we entered into Sham, they placed around the daughters of Ali and Fatima drummers and dancers who played drums and danced around them. The third reason is that they paraded us in the streets, saying that these are those individuals that have no honor in Islam. Come and attack them. And every individual would come out of their house to attack us. The third reason is that they took us through the streets. The women of Sham mounted upon their rooftops and they set fire to pieces of wood and they threw it towards us. Those that did not have wood threw boiling water upon us. The fourth reason is that they took the daughters of Ali and Fatima to the marketplace of the slaves. Here they tried to sell the daughters of Ali and Fatima as slaves, but due to the divine intervention we were saved. Says the fifth reason is that they took us to the place where the Jews and the Christians would reside. Here they announced, these are the ones that killed your members in Khaybar and Khandak. Come and take your revenge O Nu'man, not a single Jew or Christian remained within the house, but that they brought with them sticks and stones, and they began attacking us. The final reason for why we cry Sham is that they kept us in that house of ruins which had no roof. The walls, every time the wind would blow, they would move. The children of Abi Abdullah would stay awake out of fear. During the day they would be subjected to the heat. During the night they would be subjected to the cold. This is why we cry. This is that same house where the daughter of Abi Abdullah, that night when the head of her father is brought to her, when she holds it, my father, tell me who orphaned me at such a young age. My father, tell me who cut the veins of your neck. My father, tell me who covered your face and beard in your blood. The child continues to speak when all goes quiet, when Imam Sajjad goes to wake his sister. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, for the sake of that moment that they say that as Imam al-Sajjad was departing from this world, Imam al-Baqir came and he placed his head on the chest of Imam al-Sajjad. Imam al-Sajjad began wailing loudly. Imam al-Baqir says, Father, did I hurt you in some way? Imam al-Sajjad says, no, my son, but today when you laid on my chest, my mind went to Karbala, that today you are on my chest. But in Karbala, الشمر جالس على صدر الحسين, that shimmer was on the chest of my father as his soul was departing. Ya Allah, for the sake of that moment, those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Ya Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, keep our ulama and our maraji at the head of our institutions. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadheen, his true awaiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that the brothers and sisters have brought to the majlis. Please recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.